All right. Okay. So I'm kind of blown away right now by this man, Peter F. Drucker. I read Drucker's books when I was younger. I got to tell you, it didn't make as much sense to me. A friend of mine, Dean McKay. Thank you, Dr. McKay. Dean was actually in a close mentoring relationship with Peter, and so I just am rereading this book. The Effective Executive is kind of blowing my mind. Every sentence is packing a power punch. It's like this guy did not write, they're not wasteful words. These do not look like our typical best selling leader books or leadership or management books. They don't. I'm telling you, every sentence is powerful. And I just want to give you one example. So, and by the way, if you can put aside with some of his, like at the time period, some of his male gendered pronouns that are everywhere, I get that that's problematic, but if you can get past that and read just some of the things that he said, the wisdom behind what Peter Drucker, and this guy never was actually, as far as I can tell, even when I looked, this was years ago, I looked into this, I was trying to see, he was a journalist, but he worked with so many executives. And this morning, we're walking through the Wild Toolkit as part of a bunch of people who have access to the toolkit are going to walk through, and we're going to talk about purposeful goals, the purposeful goals assessment. And so I'm reading this morning. Just listen to what Drucker said about this. He says, the effective decision does not, as so many texts on decision-making proclaim, flow from a consensus on the facts. We know this is true. He says, the understanding that underlies the right decision grows out of the clash and conflict of divergent opinions and out of serious consideration of competing alternatives. Pow! To get the facts first is impossible. There are no facts unless one has he calls it a criterion of relevance. Events by themselves are not facts. Listen to this though. He says, but the effective executive also knows that people do not start out with a search for facts. They start out with an opinion. There is nothing wrong with this, he says. People experienced in an area should be experienced to have an opinion. Not to have an opinion after having been exposed to an area for a good long time would argue an unobservant eye and a sluggish mind. So you got to have an opinion. But he says this is the point. People start out with an opinion, inevitably, he says. To ask them to search for the facts first is even undesirable. They will simply do what everyone is far too prone to do anyhow. Listen to this. Look for the facts that fit the conclusion they have already reached. Every one of us, I don't care who you are, he's saying would do this. And no one has ever failed to find the facts he is looking for. The good statistician knows this and distrusts all figures. He either knows the fellow who found them or he does not know him. In either case, he is suspicious. And this is he says, the only rigorous method, the only one that enables us to test an opinion against reality is based on the clear recognition that opinions come first. So what he's saying is, the point is, recognize that opinions come first. And then when he talks about the criterion of relevance, we have to butt heads. We have to get feedback. We have to clarify what the criterion of relevance is before we can get to the facts. Amazing. And he said, but the most important part is the effective executive's understanding that that's where it starts. It starts with an opinion. It does not start with the facts. I got so much more I could read, but that's just what I was thinking today. Peter Drucker, I had a chance to observe him in class. I actually kind of non-matriculating student in his class when I was at Claremont, so I just wanted to be exposed to some of his work, and so I imagine him puttering around the class as an older gentleman. But wow, so that's all I got. Powerful stuff. Go read this book, The Effective Executive, just as a start.